Let's talk. Welcome to Plathville, Season 6, Episode 5. How do I get Riz? I just thought it was an okay episode, and yet I have 5 pages of notes. I don't know why. I'm gonna try to push through this fast so that it doesn't drag on and bore you. Here we go. We start off with Kim and Barry, and the girls are there. And I just need to point out that Amber is taller than Kim and Ken. She's gonna be tall. You can't call her a little girl anymore. But I guess we will. She's one of the 3 youngest girls, so she still falls into the little girl category. So in this part of the episode, we have Micah brought the girls all the way down to Florida to do a Tae Kwon Do lesson, private Tae Kwon Do lesson. So the whole thing is just set up by TLC. Micah comments that he doesn't know Ken really well, but from what he sees, Ken seems to be treating his mom and the girls really well. Oh, I don't know if this comes up later on in the series, so let me just say that when Micah said that he is fine with Ken and he thinks he treats the girls well, he said that the older siblings, especially Ethan, are more skeptical. Micah has some reflections on the fact that he was not able to join any organized sports when he was growing up, and that he feels like he may have had professional athlete ability, which I agree with. He was the most natural when it came to picking up snowboarding and skateboarding and balancing on things and jumping up and climbing in trees. And of course, he's obviously very physically fit as well. So I do think he could have been a professional athlete. Now, in Kim's talking head, she didn't say, well, we had really strict rules in terms of socializing outside our community of like-minded believers. She said the reason that Micah didn't go to any organized sports or any of the older kids is just because she had so many kids and Barry was gone at work, so she would have had to tout all the kids around. She said she couldn't do that, which made me really sad. I almost, like, a religious conviction seems to trump, I didn't know how to get everybody in the car, and it takes a lot of work. And I get that it would have, and that it would have been difficult for sure, but if each kid had one activity they could have done, I think it's worth it. Those of us with multiple kids, we throw them all in the car and everybody went everywhere, and kids did homework where they were there, or they played with a toy or whatever. Oh, that just made me a little sad. We now go to Minnesota, where Mariah and Lydia are. It's the next day from the last episode, and Ethan seemed genuinely happy for Mariah. I think that he is truly happy that she was able to say what she needed to say and put it to bed and move on. Lydia said in her talking head that it felt good to still be there and to be there for Ethan, because the one thing about their family is when one kid is going through something, the other ones rally around and they're there to uplift and support them. And then it said later in the week, Olivia was going to stop by to get all her things and sign the papers, or bring the papers for him to sign. Later in the week. Who is she visiting in Minnesota? Like, if she had good friends there, they would have showed it on the show, unless the friends refused. It just seemed like she didn't have anybody there, and his family's there. So where is she going, and what is she doing for the week? Her stuff is there. I don't understand. It's so confusing to me. There's so many little questions that come to my head that I'm like, what? Well, this doesn't make sense. What do you mean later in the week? Where's she going? Where's she staying? What's happening? We cut to a scene with Micah and Barry. They are at one of the properties that Barry bought that was used or intended to use. I don't know if they actually used it as a rental property or if they just fixed it up and they were intending to use it as a rental property. It looks very similar to the original Plath home that we saw in the first couple seasons. In terms of getting this divorce finalized, all he said was, we're in marriage limbo and the papers aren't signed yet. So it's been 2 years and they still cannot come to an agreement on the divorce settlement. Micah shared that he is planning on starting his own landscaping company and fencing company. Now, didn't he just say that he didn't like doing the fencing? Why isn't he going into automotive repair? This is so confusing to me. Micah could work at a gym as a personal trainer. He should go get a personal training certificate and do that. I don't think fencing's his calling. He didn't seem to like it, but yet he's going to start his own business doing it. Talk about not liking your life. I don't think that's a good choice. So Barry is asking about marriage in the future with this girlfriend, and Micah was very well spoken about it and explaining, I don't think jumping into a marriage is a good idea anymore. Didn't work out for Ethan, didn't work out for you, Dad. Barry doesn't have a leg to stand on in this argument, so it pretty much came to an end. Barry shared that he is not going to do any dating until the marriage is finalized. And Micah said that people are sliding into his DMs all the time to get him to set them up with Barry. And then there's a little exchange about Barry saying, like, I don't even know how dating is now. I don't understand that. I don't have any of those apps. I don't do social media. I have no social media. I do want Barry to find somebody, and I want him to be able to move on. He needs to find somebody that complements him, that has similar, well, that would have the same values, but is more progressive in terms of just being in the world. I like what Micah said about his dad, though. He said, my dad is good looking, fit, and quirky. And then he smiles. It's like he gets it. His he's an odd one. But I just thought it was really endearing the way Ethan said, and quirky. And then he added at the very end, he goes, he's unique. Yeah, he is. Quirky, unique. Both good words to describe Barry. He's very stiff, too. Very stiff. He needs a woman to loosen him up a little bit. We see Olivia in the apartment in Minnesota, and she's packing up all her stuff, and Ethan is not there. He thought it was best that she do this on her own, and he not just sit there and watch her, and she agreed. Although she threw away a perfectly good aloe plant. That really bothered me. I guess she wanted the pot. Dumped the whole plant. There was something else that looked like, I don't remember, potpourri or something that she dumped into a garbage bag, and then she took this aloe plant. I was like, oh. Guess she really wanted that pot. She couldn't leave the plant for Ethan. All right, a little section here that bugged me a bit. She said that when they decided to separate and when she moved away, they both agreed that they were moving on. This was a separation and that they were going to divorce. Okay, can I give you the quote of what she said next? I roll if I ever had one. She said, I received those words that he said at the time. She's so therapized, it's ridiculous. I received those words that he said at the time, and I accepted them. But now things are different. Oh, Lordy. She's either been in a lot of therapy or she's just deep diving all of those online guru therapists on YouTube. One or the other. Who says that? I received those words at the time. When he said that, I believed him. It just makes her inauthentic. Just talk normally, like normal people talk. Nobody says it. It's pretentious and unrelatable. It also makes her come across as rote and cold. It's very, I'm the professor, you're the student, isn't it? Okay, let's move. Ethan comes in. She says, hey, to him, and he doesn't respond. One of these days, we need to get him into Communication 101 class. I mean, you can't even say, hey. I mean, she didn't even say hi. She said, hey. He could have said, hey. It comes across as if he's pouting. Like, oh, if I just act like I'm really hurt, maybe she'll have sympathy and come back. It seems that way. I don't know if it is that way because we've seen in all these seasons, he's just really bad at communicating. So, I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of both. So at one point, he's looking through some pictures and he said, do you want any of these? And it's pictures of the two of them. And she just shakes her head no. In the talking head, he goes, she's always been like that. He said she can cut things out of her life and never look back. I wrote a line here that says, never had a deep connection. This is everything that Ethan said. I can't believe he said that. I feel like that's a note that I had, but maybe not. Maybe he said that too, that she's never had a deep connection. And then the next line I've written down here is, I know something she said. It says, if she can do that to her family, then I don't stand a chance. It's just true. Family that she was born and raised with, all her siblings, like if she can cut them out, and he said she cut them out, that's true. You don't stand a chance, Ethan. See, the writing's on the wall. Move on. You're both better off. He turns to Olivia and says, how can you move on so easily? He said, it seems like you just don't care, and that infuriates me. I don't understand. It's going to take him a long time to get through this, isn't it? It's true. She is moving on. And maybe when he gets angry too, he gets really quiet. Like maybe their family wasn't allowed to show angry emotions because you don't see a whole lot of angry emotions coming from them. Maybe it was prohibited. And then this is a result. It'd be so sad, right? We now go to Mariah down in Florida and she's visiting her mom on the boat. There is no power on the boat this morning when Mariah arrives. And they found out that there was some big plug that was down below that went to electricity. The whole thing was just black. It just like completely burned out. Does anything work on this boat? It's becoming the comic relief of the show. Like this season, it's like, oh, good, a boat scene. Some levity. Oh, so funny. Mariah and mom are talking, and mom asked about Ethan and how he's doing because, they had that interaction, but it obviously wasn't deep or anything. Mariah shared that she went and had a talk with Olivia, and Kim looked shocked. I don't know why she was so shocked. I don't know if she was surprised that the kids would want to talk to her, or is Kim having any regret maybe for the way she treated her? Would have been really great if the show would have started 3 years earlier. We have a lot more information. All right, so Mariah says she needed to apologize for her part in needing to fight back and speak up. She said she should have let it go. So she wanted to apologize. Fair. Kim gives this ping pong analogy that she said that her and Barry used to kind of give a graphic explanation to help them work through the situation they were having with Olivia. She said it was like she enjoyed the back and forth. It's like she enjoyed the drama. Robin Brown, reference to Sister Wives, if you don't watch it. Anyway, she would throw a zinger waiting for Kim to hit back with another zinger so that she could say, I can't believe she said that, and come back with another zinger, and she just enjoyed the game. So Kim said that her and Barry would tell each other, we just need to put the paddles down, like game over. I thought that was a really good analogy. I was actually kind of surprised it came out of Kim's mouth. I can see that. I can see that. It is going to be interesting to see if now that this is coming to an end, finally, a divorce with Ethan, if she really can separate and move on. I think she enjoys that drama. I think she's going to be there for the rest of the season. Even though she doesn't need to be, I think somehow she's going to find a way to keep inserting herself. But I might be wrong. And I hope I'm wrong. We'll see if I'm wrong. Mariah shared she really believed that Olivia loved Ethan, but that love just wasn't enough. Kim almost interrupts her at this point as she's saying that, because you could tell Kim was thinking about herself in her situation. Kim said, love is enough if you listen, compromise, and your love shows in your actions. She adds that you have to prioritize the person that you love. I guess she didn't feel that from Barry. I don't know how well she communicated that she wasn't feeling that from Barry, but I mean, I can see that. Barry doesn't seem very emotionally present. It looks like he wants to be, but I don't think he knows how to get there either. So in the talking head, Kim was talking about Mariah, and she said how much she really appreciated where Mariah is in her life right now, especially because of the breakup that she went through that was so extremely difficult and nothing that we saw on the show at all. It all happened last season. Kim said that in the past, when Mariah would have a breakup, she would lock herself in her room for weeks. She apparently didn't handle it very well. Kim said, not this time. The night of the breakup, Mariah drove to her mother's house and she went in and it was late and they stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning talking. That's probably the nicest thing I've ever heard about Kim. I could see Kim welcoming her in, of course, because also Kim is on an island when she left. None of the kids or Barry were thrilled about it. She needed to do whatever she could to get the love of the kids still. So there is that piece of it. But that being said, when Mariah arrived at 11 or 12 o'clock at night or whenever it was, she could have sat up with her for an hour or two. She didn't have to stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning. That's something that you do when you really love somebody. So Mariah is recapping that situation. And then she said, I just want to thank you for being there and for doing that for me. And then Kim starts to cry, real tears, as opposed to Robin Brown fake tears, but like real tears. So that whole thing was an endearing moment. Not a Kim fan, but I really like that. I mean, we saw a human side to Kim, and we heard a story about something she did off camera that shows she isn't the cold hearted mother that Ethan was describing on the last episode. Now, I'm not saying she's this big, loving, fuzzy, warm mama, but I'm just saying it's not 100% Ice Queen. All right, so we are back. I'm not going to read. I wrote a lot of this dialogue down, but I don't know why because it's kind of redundant. We're back in Minnesota, and there's a lot of it's been 7 years. How do you move on so quickly? And her saying, how come you can't let go? Blah, 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 blah. They're both at fault. She's too demanding. He's too far in denial and not communicating. Like, okay, move on. Move on. Starting to beat a dead horse here. The most frustrating part, however, is when she said, are you ready to sign the divorce papers now? And he just shakes his head no. And then he picks up and he walks out of the apartment in silence. Doesn't say another word. It's like we've made no progress. I don't understand why she married him if he was such a poor communicator. Why? It's confusing to me. Hormones, I guess. Olivia is packing a lot of stuff. It appears that 80% of their apartment is Olivia's. There is a little moment where she seems vulnerable. She's looking through pictures and she at first seemed to kind of be dismissive of the wedding pictures, but then there's some other events with her and Ethan, and she seemed genuinely touched by it, which was nice. She admitted that it's very hard for her to now see Ethan struggling so much, but one of these days she's gonna say a nice thing about him and just put a period at the end. But she said she spent years in stress and more alone with him than she is by herself. She adds, I am sure that Ethan has a lot of regret, and that's hard for him to live with. But on the flip side, it's not easy to be told that who you are becoming is not good enough for someone. Okay, agree. Let's move on. There is a nice moment where there was a picture of an old car that he rebuilt, and he sold that car to buy the engagement ring for her. And she said she went and she bought the car back and gave it to him at one point, which I thought was a really nice gesture because Ethan's cars mean everything to him. She adds, I think this is like the same thing she said in the last episode. She's looking at the pictures. She's like, look at how young we are. We're kids. And she said, I wouldn't change or tell these kids anything different because life is learned by experiences. I would have missed out on a lot if I didn't do it to preserve pain. I guess you would have missed out on the show. I don't know how much else, but she would have missed out on the show. It bothered me. It rubbed me the wrong way, the comment, because it was so selfish. It's like, well, I wouldn't have done anything different because look at everything I got out of it. And be damned the fact that I've broken off ties with Mariah, who was my best friend for 6 years, and who cares that I don't like my husband anymore and we're now divorcing, and who cares that he was estranged from his family for all those years. Like there's just the collateral damage didn't mean anything to her. It was just, I wouldn't tell these kids anything different because their life is learned by experiences. We went through this last time. We don't all have to have really horrible negative experiences to learn something. I had some kids that I just told them, that is hot. Don't touch it. You will burn yourself. And they never touched it. They didn't have to. Not all of life is learned from experiences. Sometimes you can just take information that's out there in the world and make an educated decision. All right, let's move on. We discussed that in the last episode. It actually ended quite nicely. So now we're in another day. Ethan wanted to talk to Olivia about some of the things that he was too emotional to discuss. I mean, there was no emotions, but that's how he coins it. Too bottled up. I guess he had emotions. There's just nothing overtly showing. So he said he was too emotional to discuss things earlier. He wanted to talk to her, and she said that she wasn't ready to hear it and she wanted him to write it down. She said, I'll read it when I'm ready. I'm like, okay. At first I thought, that's kind of rude. Like, you want to get this done, just go, get it over with. But I'm like, we talked about beating a dead horse. Like, how many times do we have to go around this merry-go-round? So she's like, write it down and I'll read it when I'm ready. I think that's best. So he starts writing in this letter, and you can see some of it, or did he read it overhead? I think we were reading it from over his shoulder. I can't remember. I remember seeing some of the words. But anyway, he wrote, he's sorry for the ways he fell short in the relationship that brought them to this point where they are right now. Perfect beginning. Perfect. That's exactly where he needs to come from. Take responsibility for your part of it and go on. Of course, we're not going to see the whole letter, but anyway, started great. He adds that he hopes she finds what he couldn't or didn't give her. Again, who knew Ethan had these deep feelings inside? He should write everything. He should just walk around with paper, be a scribe, and write everything. So good. That line is so good. He's sorry for all the ways he fell short in the relationship that brought them to this point, and he hopes that she finds what he couldn't or he didn't give her. He's not a victim in this. Like, I'm culpable too. I like that. It was good. Good words. And then he wishes her the best. He adds, if she needs anything, he will always help her however he can. Again, really nice. Open door. She's not going to need anything unless she wants to get on the show some more. But I think she can have closure from this now. I really do. And I hope that he can too, now that he's put pen to paper. I pray. I mean, he admitted every time he sees her, it's like a step back. So I feel like, okay, time to move on. Let's all move on. Let's all move on. In the talking head, he shared that he has both happy memories and sad memories of his relationship with her, but the happy memories are the ones that hurt the most because he still loves her. They wrote on the screen that the next day Ethan signed the divorce papers. And then they did a really nice montage, some pretty music in the background of photographs of the two of them, snapshots from the series starting with season 1 up till now, like all the good times, the happy times. I wrote here, this is a really nice send-off and an end to the arc of Olivia's story in this series. But wait, we have coming more this season. There's more Olivia. We do see one quick scene of line dancing with Ethan by a very pretty blonde. I don't know who. I thought it was her actually originally. She really resembles Olivia a lot. Definitely the Plaths have a type. At the end of that scene, we see Ethan asking the girl for her phone number. Now, we don't know if anything came of it, but I didn't think it would be a long time before Ethan found another girl. So that would be an interesting twist to this season if he really did find somebody else to move on with. Be nice, wouldn't it? So we'll see. It could not be a relationship whatsoever, and it could just be TLC teasing us. And then we cut to a concert where the family decided to do a concert again. Back in the day before the show, the family always did little concerts. Somebody wrote on one of my comments under one of the videos, I don't remember which, that they actually never went to church. They just do the like home church, I guess, in their homes, and they never attended church. The only time they would attend a church is if they were asked to come as a family to perform. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, not all of them are going to be there, so we'll see how that goes down. That's really the end of what they showed for the rest of the season, so not a whole lot. Although at this concert, apparently the guy who broke Mariah's heart shows up and he's there. Dun dun dun! So there's that storyline. I wonder if we're ever going to get to see him, or if we ever get any more additional information about what really happened. What were the lies that he told her and the truths that he kept from Mariah? Inquiring minds want to know. And that's all we have for this episode. Okay. Until next time. Bye, y'all.